You're listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast. We're an independent, general interest bookstore putting great reads in the hands of people in the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles. Hosted by resident Skylighters, we're here to bring you new and exciting author conversations, group reads, and bookseller chats. Happy listening.
Hello, lovely listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Hallie. Today, we're welcoming Sanaa Seif to discuss her brother's book, You Have Not Yet Been Defeated, with Sharif, Abdel, Kouddous. Before I introduce them, I just want to remind you that SKYLIT Books offers curbside pickup and online ordering on our website, www.skylitbooks.com. Sanaa Seif is an Egyptian filmmaker, producer, and political activist. Imprisoned 3 times under the Sisi regime, she is currently touring the US promoting her imprisoned brother, Alaa Abdel Fattah's new published book, You Have Not Yet Been Defeated. She's joined today by Sharif Abdel Kouddous. Sharif is an independent journalist based in Cairo. He has reported from across the Arab world for a number of print and broadcast outlets, including Democracy Now!, and is currently an editor and reporter at Mada Masr, Egypt's leading independent media outlet. Welcome, Sanaa and Sharif. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Hi.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I think we're going to get started with readings from the book from both of you.
Okay. I chose a piece. It was written in November 2020. It's a handwritten note that got, it's like a letter from Ale. So, hi, I've not seen your letter yet, so I can't respond. And I don't know which one of you is here, but I think it's Mama. I'm a bit worried at the thought of you waiting out there in this rain. It looks like the whole place has drowned as usual. But honestly, when it was raining, it was joyful, and the smell of the wet dust was good, and the sound of people raising prayers was inspiring. You miss being part of nature and the climate, but this rain is making itself felt through the walls. I hope you're all well. My health is good. That's all I can say. The day of my birthday was a bit dramatic, and I couldn't celebrate, but the banana cake made up for things a bit. I tried to energize my head in the absence of books by remembering stories from history, sometimes by shattering on about science. My imagination can't really engage with post-release dreams, but one tries to find reason for optimism in the ebbing of the right-wing wave in the world, and to believe its effect will reach us. Of course, I'm used to Gramsci's method regarding the pessimism of the mind and the optimism of the will, but there is such negation of the will here that I need to train myself into an optimism of the mind before I mess up my colleagues. That's all. I'm generally fine, and I love you and miss you. That's it.
Okay, and this is his last essay that Alaa wrote before his re-arrest in September of 2019. It was written in what Alaa called his kiosk of solitude, which was a wooden structure inside the police station where he was forced to spend every night from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. after completing a 5-year prison sentence. He was arrested shortly after he wrote this, and it's about the body. It's called Regeneration. There can be no return to paradise lost, for we were not born innocent. There can be no resurrection, for we are not holy, and our sacrifices were not consciously made. No surgery can cure us, and no medicine, for the decision to amputate is not ours, and no clinical research was conducted to explain away our ailments. There will be no rebuilding, as the land itself can no longer withstand any more clearing. Let us postpone the wandering of our souls till after death, for each one of us is haunted by comrades who departed, and it would not do to leave them desolate before their time. If we are to be treated like animals with no agency, so be it. But we shall bypass cattle and livestock, ignore pets and domesticates. We shall look to the lizards, starfish, and earthworms, those beings that can regenerate after injury, no matter how grave. We shall accept that regenerated organs may not be identical to what was lost. They could appear to be mutilated, but look closer and you will see the beauty in monstrosity. For only the monstrous can hold both the history of dreams and hopes and the reality of defeat and pain together. The monstrous need not forget their old injuries in order to lose their fear of acquiring new ones. So that again was written by Ale in September of 2019. Ale, soon after that was written, was essentially kidnapped from the police station where he was forced to spend every night and put into pretrial detention for over 2 years before being put on trial just a few months ago in November of 2021, and eventually sentenced to another 5 years on trumped up charges. Sanaa, at this time, for much of this time, you were in prison yourself. You were trying to help your family to get a letter into Ale. Can you talk about the circumstances of your arrest? What happened, and when did you get out?
Okay. Well, it was during COVID, early on, before like the vaccines and everything. So we were really worried about the well-being of the people in prison, and the visitations were banned because of COVID. And so the only way to know that to know if Ale is okay was the letters. And they decided to also ban the letters. My mother started, we first filed complaints, and then nobody responded. So my mother decided to sit in at the prison gate and not leave without a letter from Ale. And me and my sister, we joined her. We spent a night in front of the prison gate, and the next day, early morning, we found female thugs who came and attacked us and stole our stuff and beat us up in front of like the police and the security who were guarding the prison facility. It's the place is very kind of guarded, and there are many police officers around, and it's not it's very unlikely for a thug to come in without having coordinated that with the police. And while I was being beaten up, I started yelling and cursing the officer who was in charge of the security of the facility, of the doors. And then the thugs left and we left. And the next day we went to the public prosecutor's office to complain about what happened. And I was there because the lawyers wanted me to be present, so that if the prosecutor decides to open an investigation, they could see like the wounds and stuff. And at the gate of the public prosecutor's office, I found a van. A police officer dressed in plain clothes told me to come up to the van, and I found myself being charged of fake news, insulting public official while on duty, and some other charges. I think there were also, like in the beginning, there were also terrorism charges, but the terrorism charges didn't go to court, and that's how it started.
And so you were eventually sentenced to 18 months in prison, and
a year and a half.
Year and a half. Can you talk about, for people to understand what it's like for you in prison? This was the third time, you're 28 years old, and this was the third time that you were imprisoned over the last 10 years. What's it like in prison in Egypt?
It's different. It differs from who you are and where you are, but generally it's for example, I had at some point, at first I didn't have books, but then I gained access to books. There's it's complete isolation. For political prisoners, usually what happens is that we're not allowed to be in the same rooms, so you won't have like a cellmate or someone who's like-minded. This is quite rare. I wasn't solitary. I was with other normal criminal charges inmates. The room I was in was kind of like a temporary place for the other inmates, and so people kept changing. Every 15 days, people would change, and there was like always for the normal for the criminal inmates, there is this stress about communicating with political prisoners because then the guards could be in trouble, and so my relationships with people had to always be very superficial, because anybody who would talk to me could get in trouble, could either go to like the SHU or to solitary confinement, or I don't know, they could be beaten, or something could happen. They could, because I was a high profile, so the punishment wouldn't be directly to me. So the idea was to isolate me from other people. So yeah, it's isolation and mainly deprivation of all of like the human stuff, or the stuff that the outside world. But to certain degrees, it really depends by who you are, whether you're a girl or usually females get a little better, better treatment, but in comparison to males, in comparison to basic human rights, everybody's is being treated very badly.
Right. So you were eventually released after completing a year and a half in prison in December. And then you had the opportunity to visit Ale in prison, who at this time had been sentenced again to 5 years in prison in a court whose rulings cannot be appealed. Can you talk about, this was the first time you had seen him in something like 2 years. And I should remind people that prison visitations in Egypt now for Ale occur once a month for 20 minutes behind a glass barrier. So what was it like to see him after so long? What did you talk about, and how did he seem to you?
Yeah, I remember we hadn't met for a year and 9 months because also before I was arrested, visitations were stopped because of COVID. So it's been very long, and we were both excited. There was no time for drama. I heard that he was in a bad state. I heard that in my visits, but we were just excited to see each other finally, and so it didn't seem like 20 minutes. It seemed like from another world. We were both excited. We were talking very fast. We were trying to catch up on many things, and it was like, when you put a video on YouTube, like on fast forward by ×2, for example, that was the whole 20 minutes. Because we were so happy to see each other, it didn't hit me like the fact that I didn't hug him, or the fact that we only had 20 minutes. All of this didn't hit me until after I left the visit, after the visit ended. But we were happy to see each other. So,
can you explain to people what Ale's prison conditions are and how this has affected him?
Ale, for the past 3 years, have been deprived of everything. Actually, I mean, the only thing he was allowed after 2 years was a kettle, like to make hot beverages. And this has like a long story to it. So he was deprived of, he doesn't see sunlight, no fresh air, no books, no pen and paper, no radio, and the visits are behind the, like in a glass cabinet, so he doesn't touch people. So, and for Ale, the thing I think that's breaking him the most actually is the deprivation from books, because of how he is. And but books in prison help you, even if you're not. Like, I don't read much outside, but books kind of take me to another world. I can live and play with my imagination and live the experience or whatever in the novel I'm reading, or and so it's kind of, it's something you rely on to kind of cope with prison. And for Ale in particular, because he's such a nerd who reads all the time, his brain needs input. The idea that his brain is not getting input is really getting to him.
What do you mean it's getting to him? How's he coping?
Well, at some point he in I think in October, last October, last year, he during a court hearing he expressed like suicidal thoughts, and that was a shock for us, because Ale has endured so much, and we never went to that. We never thought that dark place is even possible. I think the main thing that's kind of breaking him is the deprivation from books. Actually, now he's in a relatively better state, because, well, after my release, he became he became a little bit happier, and he found it in him to be, and the other reason why he's in a better state, relatively, of course, his conditions haven't changed the slightest, but he found it in him to be resilient. He decided to go on hunger strike. Today is marks the 11th day of his hunger strike, and I think because he decided that he gathered his energy and decided to be resilient, this has like a positive psychological impact on him.
So he started the hunger strike April 2nd, and he's gone on hunger strikes previously in previous imprisonments. Do you feel this one's different?
Yeah, I think this one is different because he's put demands. His demands are that for the he put two demands. As an Egyptian citizen, he demands that a judge opens investigation and all the complaints we've been filing for the past 3 years for all the violations that that were subjected to him. And as a British citizen, he asked for consular visit, for the Brits to get access. Already the British embassy has asked for a consular visit, but the Egyptian forces haven't granted them the visit. So he's asking for a consular visit and access to his British lawyers so that they could advise him on what legal action to take. But when he talked to me about that he was thinking of starting a strike, he said the way he said it is that he said, at first I thought I shouldn't put demands on it because I know it's absurd, and I know the stubbornness with Ale and the insistence of keeping him in prison seems kind of like endless. So I think this is the way he said it, is that I think this is like a do or die fight or something, like. And then he said, but I decided to just put demands just for the sake of it. So I think this time is different. I think this time he's not on strike because he's waiting for some little improvement, and then he will stop the strike. Not only because Ala is fed up, but also because his conditions this imprisonment, are so bad, and the treatment is so bad that it's really kind of absurd to be asking for little demands out of it.
You've been on hunger strike before when you were in prison, right?
Yeah.
What does it feel like to embark on something like that in prison? What do you think he's going through?
So you mean like the physical experience or the?
I guess both, like the physical experience, but also, I suppose one thing about it is it's one of the few things you have agency over as someone who is incarcerated in prison. So yeah, maybe both of those things.
It's kind of the only thing. I remember thinking, what tools do I have? Like, where is my agency? So it really sums up to your body. So I remember when I was inside, I figured that it's either refusing to go somewhere. Like, for example, when I was in recess, when we're outside, I have like an hour to walk. So either refusing to enter the cell, I think that is one tool, and the other is strike. I don't think there are any other methods out there to tools.
And what about the
I don't
physical?
think he has. It has to be. You have to be using your body. This is the only tool you've got. And for Ali, it's only strike, I think. So physically, it's in the first 2 weeks, it's very painful, and because you feel the hunger, you're hungry, and your stomach aches and stuff. But then something changes. You enter like another phase where you kind of, now your body knows that you're no longer gonna provide food for it, and so it starts working on the calories. The way I did the strike, I think Ale is doing the same now, is that I used to take salt and water. Salt would maintain my blood pressure, and so my body just had to figure out a way to find glucose, which is through the calories. So, and then the later phases depend on the person's body. So if you're a little bit overweight, this might give you time. But at first the body starts to loses like the extra calorie, and then it goes to starts breaking, and then the third phase is that starts breaking the muscles so that it could get energy out of them, and this is a very, very painful phase. And afterwards it's kind of like your body is self-destructing itself, but kind of trying to do it wisely. So
how does it
I stopped
feel?
at the breaking the muscles side, after the breaking the muscles side, because afterwards it was really painful.
So how does it feel for you as Ala's sister, knowing that he's begun this, and you're saying this time it feels different and he might not stop it for any small improvement in conditions? So that means it could go on for a while.
I have a conflict of feelings. I'm honestly happy that he's resilient after being in the suicidal phase, and I felt bad. I feel bad for what he's going through, but also I felt bad. it was really horrible to see him psychologically broken. Now I see resilience, and so that's a good thing. But also I know the kind of pain he will endure, and he is enduring, and so there's a conflict here. I keep hoping that he's strong-bodied, so I say maybe maybe if we manage to put pressure fast enough, then he wouldn't have to go through the painful part. And so I just feel urgency to campaign and to move, to try and save him before going to this the really destructive phase.
So what are you hoping for by speaking out, campaigning for him? How do you expect him to get out? He was just sentenced to 5 years, and this ruling cannot be appealed. What kind of pressure do you think is most effective? How do you think is the way he would get out?
I think the way he would get out is through pressure from the British authorities. But because Alaa's situation, for some reason, is so complicated, we don't know. We just know that it's so complicated. I know that the amount of pressure has to be high. It has to come from high up, politically. And so by campaigning here in the States, by doing touring with his book and campaigning, I hope that the matter would get that his case will get the intended attention.
And do you have hope that he's going to be released?
Yes, now that we've gone public, now that we have this British citizenship, I have, unfortunately, before the British citizenship, I didn't have any hope. But now that there is this aspect, I do have hope for his release.
All right.
It just needs a lot of work, and it also needs a lot of support, which I'm hoping to get.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people might not understand that you have more of a chance of getting out of prison, or you have kind of more rights when you have foreign citizenship in Egypt.
It's quite straightforward. There is another government that is not as crazy and oppressive, who's responsible for you now.
I'd also love to ask just a little bit about how you hope the book will help the cause, and who you hope reads it, what impact you hope it has on the world right now.
Okay, I think other than the campaigning, the book itself, I hope and it should have impact for the people reading it. I think the whole premise of the book is that we hope in our defeat could be like the movement, the whole movement and the Arab Spring could be an inspiration to others who have not yet been defeated.
I just wanted to add, on the book that Alaa is in prison because of the power of his ideas and his voice. And for those who are unfamiliar with Alaa, this is kind of a unique collection that's been translated of a span of over of 10 years of his writing, of speeches he's given, of interviews, of tweets, that really gives you a sense of the agility of his mind. He spans talking about deep politics to technology. He's a technologist and a software developer. He talks about things like Uber from his prison cell and kind of predicts what's happening right now as we're all isolated in the pandemic and living this online life. He talks very deeply and honestly about the defeat of the revolution and what we can learn from it, and what we can learn by confronting our defeat and looking forward. And so it's his mind that they have imprisoned, and so his body is behind bars. And this book is kind of, for English readers, is the best way to kind of understand what that voice is, what those ideas are, and how important they are to understand.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanaa, so much for sharing your story with us, and your brother's story, and for bringing You Have Not Yet Been Defeated, the book, to our attention, and promoting it in the world. And thank you, Sharif, for your very thoughtful questions. We're really honored to have had you on the SKYLIT podcast.
Thank you for listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylitbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.